Hello, everyone, and today we have finally made it to Mario Kart 8's course ranking. Now, Mario Kart 8 has 96 courses nowadays because of all the DLC and add-ons that have been made onto this game. So we need to actually do it in a three-part series. Part 1 today will be covering numbers 96 to number 65, where we will be ending. So yeah, well, let's get started. There's going to be a lot of bad tracks this time because we're very low on the list. But there are shockingly in Mario Kart 8, despite having 96 courses, there are no courses that go in the F tier. We're starting off with the D tier instead, and the D tier tracks are a lot of very boring tracks that have been added throughout the game. It's just yeah. At 96, we have SNES Mario Circuit 3, the worst course in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Now, the fact that they decided to bring this back in the Booster Course Pass is kind of stupid when Mario Circuit 4 has never been remade, and Mario Circuit 2 at least has some interesting elements. This one was the worst course you could have bring back of the SNES Mario Circuit series. Because Mario Circuit 1's the first track in Mario Kart. Mario Circuit 2 is the one with the jump or glider, depending on what variant. And Mario Circuit 4 has never been remade. Mario Circuit 3, on the other hand, was remade. In the previous most sold Mario Kart game before Mario Kart 8 came out, Mario Kart Wii. And it was better in Mario Kart Wii because the track was actually scaled up and very interesting. In this game, it's just not that. There is nothing. This track is just boring, flat, and just nothing. And that's really all this track. It's just nothing. It's boring. It's bland. Especially when in Mario Kart 8, track remakes were more. They made them better. They actually remade the track. So just copy pasting it from its original game. Except for this one, apparently, they couldn't do that. So yeah, that's why this course is the worst course in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. At 95, we have GBA Sunset Wilds. And now Sunset Wilds would be good if they kept the sunset from Mario Kart Super Circuit in this game. But no, we had to get rid of the sunset in Sunset Wilds. Basically, in the original, the sun will slowly set as you drove around the course. But in this version, this just doesn't happen. It has something to do with the lighting in Mario Kart, but why'd they even bring it to this game at all? If you can't do a gimmick from a track, then don't bring the track that's known for that gimmick in the game. The track itself is also pretty boring. It's just a boring desert course without that sunset. And it's just, and the mud is way too shiny, as you can see on screen. That mud is way too shiny. No mud looks like that, which is why this course is the second worst course in the game. 94, we have Dry Desert from Mario Kart Double Dash. And this one is even worse than the original. They got rid of the tornado and the piranha plant that would eat you if you went to the whirlpool. They also added water to a track called Dry Desert. There used to be item boxes when the Pokies would bend down, right? And there'd be item boxes in between to go and get and see if you want to risk it. This game decided to replace those item boxes with coins. Who's gonna risk their not spinning out for a coin? That doesn't make any sense. This track is also just bland. They definitely graded out. You see how yellow the Double Dash version was? It was it looked so whimsical because of its yellowness. But this version just got rid of that. This track is just worse dry ruins. But it can't even be said in the same sentence as dry ruins. Dry ruins at least has a temple and everything. This is just not good. And yeah. At 93, we have Toad Circuit. Out of all the starter tracks in the series you could have brought back, you brought back Toad Circuit, really? I mean, I guess it's not that bad. Toad Circuit has a very simplistic layout, but the real kicker of this one is that the grass is basically yellow. Grass isn't yellow. I'm sorry to say, Nintendo. Grass just isn't yellow. And also, I don't know, this track is boring as usual. Now with worse looking graphics, it just makes it weird, especially since Mario Kart, it's the one that's known for having such good graphics. If you look at the base game, but the DLC courses do not have good graphics. Compare this to this. Look at the graphics here. Graphics here. This version of the track, this came out this track came into the game in 2014, 12 years ago. This track came into the game about 4 years ago. What are we doing? At 92, we have Ice Ice Outpost, which is known for having a great soundtrack in the background, but the actual track is just kind of boring. They decided to advertise it on split paths. Ooh, so crazy. It's not going to have many tracks of split paths. This one was trying to be themed after split paths, but it made it just a dull ice course that isn't really that unique at all anyway, which is why it's ranked here. At 91, we have Tokyo Blur. And Tokyo is considered to be, so basically there's a bunch of city tracks in this game, based on different cities. And Tokyo had one of the city tracks. The developers of this game literally live in Japan, and they somehow made Tokyo seem boring. Probably because they live there, they just don't see any interest in it. But if you think, but Tokyo is considered to be a really cool city by most people. But no, we're just gonna do a few turns and that's it, and also make it take place in the daytime. Whose idea was that? Like in most media regarding Tokyo, you see it at night. This is daytime. Why is it daytime Tokyo? Who wants to see Tokyo in the daytime? Yeah, this is bad. And also bad is Toad's Turnpike remake. Basically, in the original Toad's Turnpike, there were large buses and trucks you had to dodge in a very thin track. This version doesn't have that. They also added some weird side boost panel things, which are way too easy to dodge the track. This track's also way too easy because if you cling to the inside, like I do every time I play this track to win, it's like just basically easy. It's figure eight circuit all over again with a few cars. The cars can be a hassle, I guess, sometimes, which is why it's ranked higher than the tracks under it. But like this track isn't that good. And now onto our C tier courses, which are C tier courses. These are kind of the middle of the road courses, but I'd still consider them bad. They're not the good end of middle of the road. They're all the bad end of middle of the road. And starting off with this, we got Bone Dry Dunes, which is just worse Shia Bazaar. Shia Bazaar and Bone Dry Dunes decided to both do a thing that desert tracks have never really done before and be set in the Arabian desert instead of Egypt or the Wild West. And what happens here is that the other track, Shia Bazaar from Market 7, was pretty exciting and interesting. This track is kind of just boring. You're just driving sand. It's just boring sand. There's nothing really to this track. The turns are very light, and it doesn't feel like it belongs in the special cup. I don't know. It's just not good. We have Water Park, the second course in the game, and is advertised as a course called Water Park. Water Park is a very bad course because they act like it's a water park when it's really just a flooded amusement park, which isn't as interesting as a water park. You could have like driven down water slides and stuff, but no, we're stuck out here in this water park. Also apparently Nintendo wanted the Wah in Water Park to be like the Wah in Wario, making it a Wario themed track, as you can see by the Wario Ferris wheel in the image. But like, that's just how you spell water. I'm sorry. That's just how you spell water. It's not like the water like the H2O was themed after Wario. The people who named water didn't be like, oh, it's Wario water. They did not. Wario didn't exist until 1992, and the word water has existed ever since the English language was invented. So like, yeah. At 87, we have Royal Raceway. And Royal Raceway is also just, in this game, ruined. They flattened out the diverse, windy layout that was made this track so interesting in the first place. And they also blocked off the castle. And look, I would be fine with them blocking off the castle if they at least made the castle layout, if you could look at the courtyard in the castle, at like the Mario 64 layout. But no, they just decided, nope, we're not doing that. We're just going to make stairs up to the castle instead. And that kind of also is weird. This track definitely was, the difficulty was definitely winded down, along with ruining a cool Easter egg. Both bring this track down. At 86, we have GBA Mario Circuit, which is, a simple Mario Circuit track. There's that weird, like, U thing that's, like, held up by a thing, which is probably the most interesting part of this course. But other than that, it's kind of just a normal Mario Circuit. But it is not that bad. It's still fine. So, yeah. 85, we have London Loop. And now, London is always known for being very foggy and rainy of a city, and they kind of translated that well, but they also translated the dullness of London here. And they could have at least made this track themed after or it could be like raining in the background, but nope. They just decided, nope, we're just gonna name it, call it London by name, and then just have the track be like just gray. And also the layout isn't that interesting at all. There's a few chain chomps here and there, but other than that, nothing really stands out in this track. And there's a drawbridge like in Delfino Square, except it's like way smaller. Even though I think the Tower Bridge in London is much larger than the drawbridge in Mario Kart DS's Delfino Square track. Yeah. At 84, we have GBA Sky Garden. And now people might be, if you never played Mario Kart 8's version of Sky Garden, you probably are confused at why this is this low. But it's because they ruined the track. They dumbed down the layout so much, it's unrecognizable. They could have, at this point, just named the track something different. Don't even try to pretend to be Sky Garden. The layout in Sky Garden was so interesting, and now it's just dull. Like there's less turns and less shortcuts. They just took things out of this track. They didn't add anything to it except for a little bit of elevation. But who cares about elevation when you got fun turns and shortcuts that they took out? So yeah. 83, we have Mario Circuit, which I used to hate this track because it's just, a figure, or it's not really a figure. It's like the weird, like, circle thing. I don't know. Some weird 3D thing, which takes use of Mario Kart 8's anti-gravity gimmick. The turns are kind of a little fun, but it's still nothing that interesting. It's still kind of just driving. There's not much to this track besides being a geometry thing. I don't know. But this track is just it's okay, I guess. It's like, but like, it's not really that good. I don't know. It's kind of just two figure eights. At 82, we have SNES Donut Plains 3, which is much better than the original Donut Plains, at least. The water mechanics from Mario Kart 7 are in this game too, and they fixed the way water works from Super Mario Kart, of course, because that was like in the olden days. So like now it's like just cool underwater sections. We actually make this track a little pretty interesting for a grass track, but it's still Donut Plains. It's still very simple, and there's not much to it. Not enough to it to solidify its spot any higher. At 81, we have New York Minute, which New York is one of the first cities that Nintendo decided to adapt, which is why the track is kind of very simple. There is some fun to be had with that like one tunnel area when you're driving to Rockefeller Center, but other than that, this track is pretty boring. So yeah. Uh, at 80, we have Rock Mountain from Mario Kart 7, which, if you saw my Mario Kart 7 video, you know how I complained about the remake. Gliding is worse in this game, and also look at those cliffs and grass. Again, with the grass isn't yellow, which it isn't. It's light green, but I don't care. Basically yellow. The gliding in this game is very dull compared to Mario Kart 7's. Mario Kart 7 you swoop around, but in this version you just don't. And that's what makes this version of the track, much worse, because gliding's a lot more boring in Mario Kart 8. 79, we have Cheeseland. And Cheeseland, now, a lot of people are probably getting mad that I ranked the remake lower than the original. But the original track, even though it was 2D, it was better because it was better themed, because this just feels like you're in a desert. The original Cheeseland was like, oh, look, there's it's like, oh, there's a lot of you can see like the moon in the background because like people say the moon's made out of cheese. It's a very weird track. They also took out the rats that were in this track that used to like jump around, so they replaced them with chain chomps, which makes the second half of this track very boring. Besides a few chain chomps, which are very easy to dodge, the second half of this track is just driving, and it's very boring, which is why the original version of this track is much better. At 78, we have Los Angeles Laps. And now, the original version of this track in Mario Kart Tour, the mobile one, had the sun setting, which they just got rid of and like didn't explain why. The first lap of this track is a beach course, but like it's like which beach course? If you put a beach there, it's not gonna automatically make it interesting. You gotta do more. Then you have the city area, which is very dull and just driving. Like at one point, the only interesting point in this track is when you glide over a baseball stadium. They don't have any of the famous LA landmarks. I mean, they have some, but like they don't have like the Hollywood sign. I know Hollywood's like copyrighted or something. And same thing with like the Walk of Fame. They could have replaced the Walk of Fame with like stars that have Mario character names on that. That would have been cool. But no, we're just gonna have a dull course that doesn't really have any of LA's landmarks. Honestly, copyright laws are the thing that ruin this track. And it's funny because the third lap's just oil fields instead, which is just dumb. But yeah, this is not a good representation of LA at all. So yeah, let's move on. 77, we have 3DS DK Jungle. Now, if you saw my Mario Kart 7 video, you know I don't like this version of the track. And that's basically the trees look off, especially in base Mario Kart 8, where the quality looked HD. You drive through the forest and you see the trees are 2D, which I know it was the Wii U in 2014 that when they made this track, but like I don't know, it just looks off. especially when you have tracks like the Riverside Park remake from the Booster Course Pass of all things, which is supposed to look worse. Here, but they'll look better than this one. This track also, I feel like they've ruined a lot of it. They added anti-gravity just because that one part, even though it didn't really need to be there. And then after that final glider section, there's two turns, right? There's a far turn and a close turn. Now the close turn is so hard to get on that it's so annoying, and it just annoys me. And also, just all my complaints from the 3DS version of this track also still stand, where it was like, oh, we're gonna only do the jungle of Donkey Kong Country Returns when there's so many unique places in that track, which kind of just what ruins this track and puts it here in the C tier. At 76, we have Cheap Cheap Beach. And now some people like this course, I guess, but it's just a basic beach course. I get the forest section at the end is like unique, but it's still just driving. This whole track feels like just driving. There's that one glider section, but other than that, yeah. The underwater makes it slightly more interesting, but it's still at the end of the day just cheap, cheap beach and nothing crazy. Yeah, that's really why it's here in the C tier. We Koopa Cape, and man, they messed with this track so much. First off, just look at it. It looks hideous. This track came out in 20 to Mario Kart 8 in 2023. It does not look like 2023 graphics, which is what really ruins this course. And yeah, that's really what I don't like about Koopa Cape in this game. But also, the track is scaled down like crazy. Like it's like so small now. And the underwater section is back from Mario Kart 7. But you know what they got rid of? The only obstacle that they had left there. The Cheep Cheeps. Like at least bring back the zappers or choose the Cheep Cheeps. But no, we're gonna go with neither. And that just makes this track boring and dull and not it's Mario 7 version even. But finally, we made it to the B tiers. Well, I didn't know we'd get to the B tiers in the first part, but I guess we will. We won't be able to finish the B tier today, so this will be our last tier of the day. So yeah, 74 N64 Yoshi Valley. N64 Yoshi Valley in this game is a lot more oversimplified than the original. It's just like they basically the alternate paths are still there, but the paths are easier because you don't fall into the bottom of the valley. The faster paths are easier to get around, making this track just all the other paths unnecessary in any way, shape, or form. And yeah, that's really all there is. And the rest of this track is kind of just driving. It is still a fun track with nice vibes, which is why it gets to be in B tier, but still, the original was better. 73, we have Market Stadium, which is a pretty good starter course. Like most starter courses don't get into B tier. This one is probably one of the best starter courses and like a pretty good introduction to the game. It introduces anti-gravity pretty quickly on and also has gliding for Mario Kart, and it shows that gliding is back for Mario Kart 7. There's a lot of interest, it's a pretty fun starter course, and the song and the music is also pretty good too, which is really what makes this track be ranked so high compared to other starter courses in the series. 72, Moo Moo Meadows, the Mario Kart, a remake of Moo Moo Meadows that really makes the track a lot more or a little more interesting. They had a fun glider section to get over the one part of this track I don't really like. There's a lot of or the sunset and just the vibes are a lot better than the Wii version, but it still is just as good as the Wii version. A little better, but I still I like both, but this one's better definitely because they vamped this thing up like crazy. 71, we have Riverside Park. I've talked about this track like 3 times. And yeah, this track uh is a pretty cool track. It's pretty simplistic because, it's just a super circuit course and it's not that big and not like it goes by too quickly, but the track itself is pretty fun. And there's still some fun to be had. The piranha plants are fun obstacles. It's a it's a pretty good chill jungle track, but it can't be really ranked any higher because there's not much more to be had in this one. 70, we have Sky High Sunday, which is, as everyone says, likes to point out, just an oval. At least it's a kind of fun oval. There's some fun jumps and stuff, and the floatiness is really unhinged on this course for some reason. It feels like this course is just crazy. It's broken, basically. And they definitely did fix it up in the next game, Mario Kart World, which for some reason is the only Mario Kart 8 track they decided to bring back. But, I mean, being an oval isn't that bad. Can we not be, like, just anti-oval? Baby Park's an oval, and everyone loves that course. But this course is kind of fun. It's still definitely not the greatest thing ever, and the floatiness is kind of broken, but it's still of course. GBA Snowland. GBA Snowland is a pretty nice snow track. Just like most snow tracks, I like it. They got rid of the screen shaking from the Game Boy Advance version, and also, I don't know, it just has a fun little winter vibe. It's a nice little track, and there's some fun to be had with some penguin obstacles, and I don't know, just track's just nice. It's nice to drive around. At 68, we have Sweet Sweet Canyon, and this track is also a little fun. It's definitely very simple on account of it having to be. I mean, it has to be simple because it's in the Mushroom Cup, the first cup of the game, so it has to be a pretty simplistic course. But it is pretty well themed. The track itself isn't that interesting, but the theming does really save it here. I do like some of the turns and stuff, and near the end in that like ending area, but it's like, which is what really puts it in the B tier here. At 67, we have Paris Promenade, which is a pretty simple track, but it does introduce the city track formula of different laps, like changing like each lap is different pretty well. And by adding that backwards lap on lap 3, it's still pretty simple compared to other city tracks because it doesn't have all 3 laps being unique, but it is still a fun track, and that was a pretty nice surprise when everyone first played it, except not me because I didn't get the Boots Course Pass right away because I don't know. It was only 8 tracks, and the track selection from Wave 1, half of it's already been listed on this ranking. So yeah. At 66, we have Sydney Sprint, which is based on Sydney, Australia. This track is pretty fun with a great soundtrack in the background, and it is still fun. It's definitely fun to drive around the city. It's definitely still a pretty simple city track, kind of only being in Wave 2, and city tracks didn't really get interesting till later on. But it is still, as far as city tracks go, it's a fun time, and yeah, it's a pretty fun time, and it's not boring, and it's one of the better city tracks. So when the city tracks start to get good. And here's our last course for the day, number 65, GCN DK Mountain. And sorry guys, but I'm not doing all 96 courses in one video, so we do have to end it after this. But DK Mountain, and you might be like, wait, DK Mountain was ranked way more high in Mario Kart Wii and Mario Kart Double Dash's ranking. Well, the thing is, Mario Kart 8 is a lot more grounded, and I mean that literally. Like, you stay on the ground a lot more. The road isn't as bumpy. It's not like as floaty of a game, making this track feel just not as good. Also, they got rid of the grass you can just drive through, which makes this track also less funny. And this track is still a fun course, but it's definitely nowhere near the amazing original version or even the Wii remake, which is slightly less good than the original, but still good. This one is, I mean, I like the DK barrels added everywhere. This track is definitely very simplified, and I also don't like how the bridge is now wobbly instead of just a regular bridge. So now it's a lot harder to get hit by items on there. I don't know. It's not really the bridge of death anymore, but yeah, that's really it. And thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next week for our part 2 where we go from number 64 to number 33. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.